In doing this community exegesis project, I learned a lot and met a lot of people that I can see will be wonderful to partner in ministry in the future. So I'm excited to share what I learned and what I found. First, I'd like to start by saying we have defined our community here at our church. About 2 years ago, we started what we call Mile One Mission. And so we've done a lot of the study and mapped off a mile radius around the church and all that fun stuff. So I had a little knowledge of what is happening, what to expect, but I learned far more than I even thought I would. So that being said, looking at a mile radius of our church, here are things that I learned. Looking at the architecture, our architecture tells us we are a very diverse 1 mile community. There's housing all the way from two extended stay places for short-term living, to apartments, to lower middle class, to upper middle class, and you go 2 miles down the road and we have the Quail Hollow Country Club Golf Course, which they have a PGA Tour event at. So we have the whole spectrum. We have one of the largest public schools in our state a mile away, which is blocks away from one of the more prominent private schools in the state, right here in our 1 mile community. We have a really nice mall right down the road. Nice restaurants, kind of Red Lobster, Olive Garden, steakhouses. And then from there back towards our church, we have strings of fast food chains. We have, like I said, the nice mall. And then on the other side of the block, we have several dollar store type stores. So again, very diverse. We have a nice hospital, one of the better hospitals in the area, right here within a mile. And then next door we have a Salvation Army, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Again, very diverse. The city bus line runs right by our church and the whole surrounding area, taking people all directions. And about 3 miles away there's a Lexus dealership. Again, very diverse. Charlotte's booming. I mean, it's consistently in the top 10 fastest growing cities. So our schools are becoming crowded, hard to staff. People are moving in. Even the traffic, since I moved here 5 years ago, is considerably heavier, just getting in and out of church. And so because of that, we have very diverse racial, ethnic makeup of our city. The mall's always packed every Saturday. So we're a busy community, very diverse community, and a community we're not going anywhere. So in looking at all these things and kind of the architecture, the physical things in our city, I think you can conclude some of the gods of the city. Right down the road is a greenway, and the greenway is like 5 miles one-way paved trail for jogging, hiking, biking. I go on it often, and there's all ages, all races, moms with kids use this. So it's very well kept. We have several parks in this 1 mile area. So, exercise and physical fitness is definitely a god of the city. We have 5Ks, I mean, every weekend, somewhere near. They're advertising those. And then we have, basketball courts and things for about 3 years. We ran an open gym at our church, and it was mostly attended by people that walked. They walked here on Monday night, and by the time we had to end, because I couldn't do it anymore, we had at least 30 guys a night that just wanted to come and play basketball. And so that was a big interest. Banking is huge in Charlotte and the surrounding area. And so, that's a god of money, success. I mean, it's just a big part of the city. And the gods of the city kind of show our diversity as well. Our youth group is very evident of this. We have the most diverse youth group I've ever been a part of, either as a teenager, as a pastor's kid, or now as a youth pastor. And so we're pretty diverse, black, Hispanic, white, Korean. We have a Korean congregation that meets in our building. So we're pretty diverse. And so in all of my study, there are three people that gave me the best insight. And it's really telling. It affirmed some of the things I thought and rejected others. But we have a food pantry at our church. And actually, I'm sitting in it right now. You can look behind me. And there are all these things packaged, ready to go. And Audrey runs our food pantry. And so I met with her. And she feeds with the people from our church staff our food pantry, and we feed 175 to 200 families a month, which is really, really cool. And some things she told me, God has always provided for them. And I asked, how do we join in with you? What are things you're proud of? I asked all the people I interviewed this, and what she is most proud of was how the whole community is working together. She is already going where God is working and meeting Him there. I was just so excited and ashamed at the same time that I didn't even realize all that was going on in my church. But places like Publix, Papa John's, Chipotle donated 120 pounds of rice. Olive Garden donates food. Honey Baked Ham donates food around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And she's partnered with all of them and goes every week to these places that just donate and care about the community. And like I said, the pantry is staffed by our church people, but it's on an individual basis. I didn't know everything, so that means definitely the congregation doesn't know much at all as a whole about what's happening here. And that was one of the things that Audrey shared, that a way to help is make it known what God is doing here. The Korean congregation that stays here every other month comes and helps clean, organize, package things in the pantry. And it makes a big difference, and they're part of this mission that's being accomplished, and so many people are being reached. And so as the youth group, we're going to be doing a lot of involvement over the foreseeable future, doing things like that, coming once every other month. And this summer, when the kids are out of school, and we're going to help make runs to these restaurants and things and help pack and do things each week. I think it's going to be awesome. And so, because of it, people have come to our church through the food pantry. They've started attending, and that will only increase as we as the church build relationships with these people and get involved and just rub elbows with them. And so she was excited about that. She told me a story. There was a lady that was just being really mean with her and sharp, and she said she just gave her a hug. And the lady wrote her a thank you, 3 days later, and said, you know what? I told God if somebody would just hug me today, I would know you're going to provide for me. That was just an exciting story. Some changes she saw. More people are kind of roaming, kind of walking by the church. The reason being, my next interview. The Salvation Army moved in next door to our church. Talked with Amy there. It is an adult recovery center, which I didn't realize. They house 120 men, rehabilitate them, teach them life skills, give them jobs, and they work in this store. So talk about bringing shalom and restoration back in a community. How awesome. And they're next door. And how can we help them? Kind of the same thing Audrey said. People need to know about us. They need to know what we're doing. And Amy said, we're a church. We're a nonprofit. We're with you guys. We are trying to restore people through God and life skills and all these things. And so she remembered us. We did a rummage sale last summer, and were able to donate the rest of the stuff we didn't sell to them. And she remembered and thanked us for that help. But I failed to make them known. I could have had that teachable moment with my students to say, all this stuff we're giving to them, let me tell you why. Let me tell what we're doing. And that just kind of changes things. Some of the changes she's seen, they've been there for 3 years, is more people are coming to their store, which is great. But with that, there's some stealing, and there's some kids that maybe kind of walk back behind the smoke pot and things like that. And so there are a few changes, but those people have been in our community. Another lady I got to talk to, Rebecca, she knows every community leader under the sun in this city. And I went to the high school, and they directed me to her. And she was so hopeful. She knows all of the great things going on in the community. I learned there's a Moms in Prayer group at our high school here. There's the PTA is really engaged in meaningful conversation with the students, and we're seeing positive change. And she affirmed my suspicion of how diverse and growing we are. She said last week she met with a family moving here from New Hampshire and a family moving here from Wisconsin. Diverse. She said right now the high school is 27 to 28% Spanish-speaking students. People moving in. We're seeing this dynamic evident in our church. The Catholic Church has gone a long way to help the Hispanics. But she had so much hope for the community because of the proactive things people were doing. And that was kind of the biggest changes she shared, was that there's so many people moving in, and the diversity is more diverse than ever. So that was good to hear, that kind of where our church is thinking, that's the reality. So here are some themes. It is indeed as diverse here as I thought. Economically, racially, ethnically, we're diverse. We have all kinds. Another thing, we are seeing that many people are expecting handouts. You have, so you give it to me. From Audrey in our food bank and from the Salvation Army, I heard the word entitlement. And this is a societal problem where Salvation Army is trying to combat that by giving people a job, helping rehabilitate them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. But that's a theme I noticed. That's a thing we're running into. Another thing, these companies, they just want to be known. They just want people to know what they're here for. And that's so easy for us to do here in the church, to be able to join in with them by sharing their cause and helping when we can. And that will just go a really long way. And it's our fault for not making them known. And another thing, that there is hope. I've tended to be very negative in looking at the things our church isn't doing. But, one thing our church does, we have an ESL program weekly. And that's a direct answer to this influx in the Spanish-speaking population. And we have many families in our church now because of that. And that's a praise. That's something we're doing right. I don't need to be so negative. And to hear Rebecca share of how we're being proactive in our community, it's just, I have more hope than I did. And I saw more tangible ways that we can get involved. And the last theme that spoke to me, that I've been looking for my own project, my own way to do things. And I realized that we just need to be active and present in the great things already happening. I don't have to make it some huge, we have to do something all on our own. That's so foolish. In a tangible way, more than I've ever realized, is we truly need to just see where God is working and go join Him there. And really, we should start next door.